guys, it's Nicole and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we're going to be repotting the Bulbophyllum Lasiochilum. If you guys follow me on Instagram, you know that I've been working on repotting 100 different orchids for the month of March. I got a late start because of construction in the grow room. So I've been repotting a lot every day. So I've been doing about 5 a day and I'm right on schedule. So this one is number 51 or 52. And I'm gonna be repotting a lot today. So it's the weekend, I'm gonna try to get a lot out of the way. I think I'll make it to 100 by the end of the month. But before we get started, Javi Coffee sent me some of their coffee concentrate. So I'm gonna be giving it a try. And I thought it'd be a good idea to have some coffee before I got started with my massive repots. So follow along as I walk you through this repot, and we're gonna be trying this coffee as well. And in another week or two, I'm gonna be showing you how I did with the 100 repots, and I'm definitely gonna be needing a lot of energy for that, so follow along. Alrighty guys, we're going to be repotting this Bulbophyllum Lasiochilum. This is the yellow form. If you guys are familiar with Bulbophyllum orchids, you know that a lot of them smell pretty bad. This orchid is actually really pleasant. It smells like strawberries. If you've ever smelled some other Bulbophyllum orchids, they smell like rotted meat, fish. They're not pleasant, but this is a good one. I don't have many of these, so I'm going to be potting this into something very moisture retentive. They have very short roots, so they can't go into Leca. So we're going to take this out of the pot and see what we're dealing with here. So it looks like it was in bark with a top layer of sphagnum moss. So I'm thinking we could put this with moss, and I'm going to put a little bit of coconut husk on the bottom. I have a potting mix here that I got last year, and we're gonna take this out. Now I got this as a gift from my friend Ray, and it's doing really well. The only downside is that I have to water it pretty frequently. So these orchids really love their humidity, they love their moisture, so I want to make sure that it's in a very moisture retentive mix. And Bulbophyllums, there's so many different kinds of them that some of them have different care requirements, but I find in all, a lot of them have high humidity requirements, and some of them have lower light requirements. So they're not too hard to grow if you can keep them nice and moist. You can see that they have really, really thin roots, so they're very, very fine. It's not an extensive root system, which is why I chose not to put it into Leca. Just because I don't have that much experience with this kind of orchid, but look at how it grows. It's like it grows a nice long rhizome. So I'm gonna actually soak this in the sink and I'll come back with the clean plant. Alrighty guys, I've just rinsed this off, and now we're gonna cut off any dead roots. So these are very thin, so it's kind of hard to know which ones are dead and which ones aren't. This growth is dead, so I'm gonna cut it off right off the rhizome. And I've sterilized my cutting shears. We don't want to cut without sterilizing our tools to not spread any viruses from orchid to orchid. One easy way you could sterilize if you're repotting a lot like I've been is putting this in a little bit of Physan solution in a cup. That way you could just dip it in there and just move on to the next plant. I just use alcohol for this one. I'm taking off some of the darker roots. These are very different from Phalaenopsis or Cattleya orchids in that they're much thinner. So I'm just taking off the darker ones that look like they're spent, but I think I'm gonna leave most of them just because I'd rather be more conservative when cutting everything off. But otherwise, I think that's all I'm gonna do for this one. We'll just pot everything up and be safe. This is the new growth coming in on this bulbophyllum, and it'll keep growing from there. And we'll see if anything sprouts on this side, but they might branch out on the sides, as you can see, but I think the majority of the growths are gonna come from this side. So I will keep that in mind as I'm potting it up. I'm gonna put it into this short 4-inch pot, and I'm gonna put a little bit of husk on the bottom to make sure that there's some aeration, and then we'll put the top with some sphagnum moss. So this mix has coconut husk, perlite, and little pieces of charcoal. And this will make sure that it's not very soggy on the bottom. And then let's put this right here in the middle, do a little circle, and then we can gently place our sphagnum moss. Let me know down in the comments below if you guys like these bulbophyllum orchids. They're beautiful, but I just can't get past the fragrance of some of these. I was exposed to more of them when I went to the Tamiami Orchid Festival. There was an award-winning bulbophyllum orchid. It was beautiful, but when you went up to smell it, it was just awful. It smelled literally like rotting meat. Very beautiful when you see it, but when you actually smell it, it's not pleasant. So it's sort of like a catch-22. Do you get something beautiful that stinks, or do you stay away from it? So this is why I like this one. This one does smell like strawberries. I find it's not too hard to grow, other than I have to water it pretty frequently, but since it's in a new setup, I don't think I'll have to water it that much. And I know some folks that grow this that they don't have to water too much, but they have them in much larger pots. So as you know, when a pot is much bigger, the water stays in the pot. When it's smaller, it dries faster, but this is going to be a larger pot than the pot it was in last, so I don't think I'll need to water it that much. And I don't like to put orchids into semi-hydro when I don't have too much experience with them, because I like to see how they grow, what they like, and also that has a very, very thin little root system. And I usually reserve that for cattleyas and other kinds of orchids. And I don't like to experiment until I'm very familiar with how an orchid is. So just like our Phalaenopsis repots, I'm sort of using kind of a fluffy type mix. I'm pressing it down just a tiny bit, but we have the coconut husk on the bottom. I'm not pressing it down super hard so that it's compacted down, but I'm making sure that there's contact with those fine little roots. And I think this should be just fine. So again, this one just had really cute yellow flowers, and I can't wait for it to bloom again. I didn't find it too hard to grow. I just have to keep it nice and moist. Alrighty guys, we're all set, and this Bulbophyllum Lasiochilum should be good to go for the next year or so. I got this as a gift, but if you want to check it out, I got it from, it says Gold Country Orchids on the tag, so it was bought from there if you want to give it a try. Bulbophyllums, as I mentioned, can be kind of stinky, so if you want to give one with good fragrance a try, highly recommend this Lasiochilum. The flowers are really nice. They last a decent amount, and these don't require too much light, but they do like their moisture. So keep that in mind if you're repotting your Bulbophyllum. There's many different kinds, but this one, they like their moisture. I do want to thank Javi Coffee for sending me this coffee concentrate. It tastes good. So it tastes like a cold brew that you would get at your coffee shop, but it's really easy to make at home. It's concentrated, so you just add some water, add some milk. You could have it hot if you want. You can make it cold. You can make like a latte sort of thing, but it's really tasty. And I want to thank them for sending that over to me, because I am in the middle of repotting 100 different orchids this month. As I mentioned, I got kind of a late start because of construction in the grow room. So I've been doing about 5 different orchids a day to get to that 100 goal. I I'm heading into warmer temperatures, so I want to get it all out of the way so I could just enjoy my collection and not have to worry about constantly repotting. So if you guys want to follow along, check me out on Instagram at NicoleDeannaOrchids, where I'm posting literally every single orchid that I've been repotting. I have a story highlight where you could see from 1 to 100. So if you want to check that out, follow me on Instagram. Well, anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more orchid content. I'll see you guys soon. Bye, everyone.